Hello brothers and welcome to Sigma Old Man channel. The most powerful men don't announce who they are, they make the world figure it out. And that right there is the silent chaos that Sigma males bring to the table. In a world obsessed with loud personalities and social climbing, Sigma males are the human equivalent of a plot twist. They're not trying to be the main character, they already are. They just don't need a spotlight to prove it. Studies have shown that individuals with high levels of autonomy and introspective intelligence tend to outperform others in leadership and creative problem solving, without ever needing external validation. Translation: the real leaders don't flex. They build empires in the shadows. But here's the catch: Sigma traits are impossible to fake. You can't slap on some sunglasses, avoid small talk, and call yourself mysterious. That's not Sigma. That's just someone dodging the group chat. The Sigma male runs on a different operating system entirely, and today we're breaking down the 20 mind-bending, brutally raw traits that separate the authentic from the actors. Get ready. This isn't your average personality checklist. This is the stuff most men wish they could fake, but never will. Let's dive in. Number 1, they don't sell their personality. They let people work to figure it out. They don't sell their personality. They let people work to figure it out. That right there is one of the coldest and rarest traits a man can have in today's world. Most people are busy performing, they're always on. They walk into a room and immediately try to prove they're interesting, likable, worthy, funny, confident, whatever version of themselves they think the room will applaud. Sigma males, they don't play that game. In fact, they don't even enter the room with the same mindset. They're not thinking, how do I stand out? They're thinking, is this room even worth being in? A Sigma male doesn't walk around with a neatly packaged personality ready to be handed out like a business card. He's not trying to be seen, which ironically makes people look harder. There's no forced charisma, no fake smiles, no fishing for compliments. He doesn't need to over-explain who he is or decorate his identity for mass appeal. What you get is what you earn. And most people, they'll never earn more than the surface. That's what makes this trait impossible to fake. You can't pretend to be indifferent about attention when your whole life depends on getting it. You can't fake self-containment when silence makes you panic. You can't pretend to be unbothered by what others think if your self-worth is built on approval. Sigma males don't perform their value. They embody it. And that's the difference. Their mystery isn't a tactic. It's a byproduct of authenticity. People find themselves drawn in without realizing why. They replay the conversation in their head. They notice how he didn't try to win them over, and yet they still felt the urge to win him over. It's unsettling because it breaks every social rule we're used to. What most don't realize is that it takes real inner stability to pull this off. You have to be deeply comfortable with not being immediately understood. You have to accept that some people will misread your quiet confidence as arrogance or coldness. And you have to be completely okay with that. Sigma males aren't mysterious because they're trying to be. They just know that their presence speaks louder than anything they could ever say. And they let people do the work or walk away. Either way, they don't flinch. Number 2, their eyes scan everything. Not just people, but power dynamics, insecurities, and fake energy. This trait is one of the most unsettling and powerful weapons in a Sigma male's arsenal, and it can't be taught, mimicked, or manufactured. Their eyes aren't just for seeing, they're for scanning, analyzing, decoding. While everyone else is busy listening to what people say, Sigma males are silently locked in on how people behave. The tone, the shift in energy, the subtle hesitation in someone's voice, all of it gets mentally filed and dissected. They notice micro-expressions, patterns, inconsistencies, and before you've even finished your sentence, they already know what you're hiding beneath that polished exterior. They don't make a show of it. They don't call it out. They simply adjust. The conversation shifts. Their tone recalibrates, and suddenly you feel like you're being measured because you are. You might think you're leading the discussion, but behind that quiet stare, they've already figured out who's lying, who's posturing, and who's bleeding insecurity behind designer clothes and confident talk. This is why fakes, narcissists, and energy leeches don't last long around Sigma males. They can't fool someone who sees through them, not at them. The Sigma doesn't need time to warm up to you. He picks up on your essence in the first few minutes, and once he does, the performance is over. What's even more brutal, Sigma males don't usually correct or confront the fakeness. They just mentally exit. They'll still be sitting in the room, but they've already detached from the interaction. You won't even notice it, but their energy is gone. You've been dismissed without a word, and somehow that hits harder than being called out. People often say things like, "He's hard to read," but the truth is they're just not used to someone who reads them better than they read themselves. It makes people nervous, it shatters illusions, it forces masks to crack. And you can't fake this level of awareness. You can't rehearse this kind of sharpness. It's either built through deep self-awareness and solitude, or not at all. That gaze, it's not curiosity, it's surveillance. And by the time you notice it, the Sigma male already knows what role you're trying to play and whether or not you're even worth continuing the conversation with. Number 3, they're not driven by success. They're obsessed with mastery. Most people want to win so they can be seen. Sigma males want to master something so completely, so precisely, that even if no one's watching, they still don't stop. That's the difference. Success, as the world defines it, is loud, flashy, measurable. But mastery is invisible. It's silent work. It's showing up when there's no finish line, no applause, no payday. And that's exactly where Sigma males thrive. They don't care about looking successful. In fact, they usually look like they couldn't care less. While others are busy curating their image, Sigma males are deep in the trenches of their obsession, refining, breaking, rebuilding, not because someone's watching, but because they can't stand mediocrity in themselves. They're allergic to half-done, half-baked, half-anything. If they commit to something, whether it's writing, coding, music, martial arts, business, hell, even making coffee, they want to know everything. Not so they can flex the skill, but so they can own it inside and out. You won't catch them documenting their grind for social media. They don't do motivational speeches. They don't care if anyone notices. Their reward is control, complete command over their craft. That's what gives them peace, not money, not praise, just the satisfaction of knowing they've become so sharp at something it borders on dangerous. And this is what makes them different from the average high achiever. Most people get to a good enough point and stop. Sigma males keep going, even when there's no reason left other than their own internal standards. They are their own competition, their own critic, their own scoreboard. It's a brutal way to live, but it creates monsters of excellence. This is why they often end up ahead, even if they didn't set out to be. People start noticing the results, the calm confidence, the unmatched depth in their skill, and they wonder how it happened. The answer? It didn't happen in the spotlight. It happened in solitude, in silence, in obsession. You can fake passion, you can fake hustle, but you can't fake the kind of devotion that makes a man train like a ghost in the night just to own his craft, even if no one claps. Sigma males don't just want to be good, they want to be untouchable. Number 4, they don't need to be liked, but they're rarely forgotten. There's something unnerving about someone who doesn't care whether you like them, and still manages to haunt your thoughts. That's the Sigma male effect. He's not performing. He's not trying to impress. He's not adjusting his personality to fit yours. In fact, he barely gives you anything. No extra smiles, no exaggerated enthusiasm, just raw, calm presence. And yet, hours later, days even, you catch yourself thinking about the way he spoke, the way he looked through you, not at you. And you realize you never quite figured him out. That's the power of being unapologetically unavailable. Sigma males don't need the validation hit that comes from being liked. They don't collect compliments or approval like social currency. They're not ice cold, but they're emotionally self-contained, which is rare. Most people walk around subtly asking the world for reassurance. Sigma males move like they've already answered their own questions, and people feel that. It creates a strange tension, because you're not sure whether you should lean in or pull back. The truth is, when someone doesn't need your acceptance, they suddenly gain leverage over your mind. You start wondering, did I make an impression? Did he like me? What was he thinking? That uncertainty creates obsession, not in a romantic way, in a psychological one. The Sigma male doesn't manipulate attention, he disrupts it. He breaks the usual script of social interaction. No flattery, no oversharing, no fake laughter, just presence so firm it shakes your assumptions. And the craziest part, you can't pin down why you remember him. He didn't say anything profound. He didn't do anything loud, but his detachment made everything feel more intense. His silence carried weight. His words were too deliberate to ignore. And now you're stuck replaying moments, trying to solve a puzzle that was never meant to be solved. That's what makes this trait impossible to fake. Most people crave being liked so badly that it oozes out of them, even when they pretend they don't care. But a Sigma male, he's not acting indifferent. He is indifferent. And that's exactly why you'll never forget him. Number 5, they're built from solitude, not loneliness. There's a massive difference between being alone because you have no one, and being alone because you've chosen to sharpen yourself in isolation. Sigma males didn't fall into solitude, they ran to it. Not out of bitterness, but out of clarity. While everyone else was busy surrounding themselves with noise, attention, and distractions, the Sigma male disappeared into silence and started building from the inside out. No audience, no applause, just him, his thoughts, his flaws, and the uncomfortable truths most people spend their whole lives dodging. You can't fake the kind of man who's sat in silence long enough to dissect his own ego, the kind of man who's torn his identity apart, rewired his habits, studied his fears, and built a mind that doesn't flinch under pressure. That level of solitude either transforms you or breaks you, and Sigma males use it as a forge. They come out sharper, cleaner, detached from all the unnecessary crap the world tries to make people depend on. This is why you feel the depth when you're around them. They don't operate on surface level. Their calm isn't casual, it's earned. It comes from nights of brutal honesty with themselves, from rejecting the need to constantly belong, from realizing that true strength has nothing to do with popularity and everything to do with self-mastery. Their solitude wasn't some temporary glow-up era. It was the birthplace of who they really are. Most people can't handle being alone for too long. It makes them itch, makes them question themselves. That's because they've never built a home in their own mind. But Sigma males, that's where they live. That's where they study, train, think, strategize. They don't fear being alone. They require it. It's their recharge station, their clarity zone, their tactical headquarters. You can spot a man who's been sculpted by solitude from a mile away. He's not flustered by chaos. He doesn't need filler conversation. He doesn't overshare to fill the silence. He's calm because he knows himself, not because someone told him who to be, and no fake persona, no matter how polished, can replicate that. You either built yourself in the dark or you didn't. Number 6, they are unshakably calm in chaos, not because they're unaffected, but because they've already imagined every worst-case scenario. The calmness of a Sigma male during chaos isn't the result of ignorance or blind optimism. It's the result of brutal mental preparation. While everyone else is scrambling to process what just went wrong, the Sigma male is already executing his backup plan. And if that fails, he's got a backup plan for the backup plan. He's not winging life. He's mentally rehearsed every way it could fall apart. And he did it quietly, long before things ever went south. This is what makes him unnerving to people. When chaos erupts, people expect a reaction, panic, rage, desperation, something, but he just stands there, calm, detached, calculating. It's not that he doesn't feel anything. It's that he already felt it months ago when he was running simulations in his head. He's already visualized losing money, being betrayed, starting from zero. He's already explored how bad it can get and decided it won't destroy him. This is the kind of trait you can't fake, no matter how stoic you try to look on the outside, because when life actually punches you in the face, the mask cracks. But a Sigma male's calm is real. It's been built over years of voluntary discomfort, walking through scenarios most people avoid even thinking about. He's practiced failure. He's sat with the thought of losing what matters most and asked himself, what would I do? And because of that, when reality throws the punch, he doesn't freeze. He flows. There's something surgical about how he handles pressure. No drama, no overreactions, just quiet adaptation. He doesn't need people to talk him down, hold his hand, or rescue him. He becomes the rescuer of himself and sometimes others too. Because when everyone else is drowning in emotion, someone needs to think clearly. And that someone is almost always the one who already walked through the fire in his own mind. You can't teach this kind of calm. You can't imitate it with a deep voice and fake confidence. This is forged in the mental trenches. In all those moments, he voluntarily sat with pain, fear, and worst-case scenarios while others distracted themselves with dopamine and denial. His peace isn't passive, it's earned. Number 7. They're allergic to performative ambition. Sigma males don't chase dreams just to wear them like a fashion statement. They don't need to tell the world they're grinding, building, manifesting, or any of the other buzzwords people use to cover up the fact that they're more in love with the aesthetic of ambition than the work itself. You'll never catch a Sigma male romanticizing the hustle, because for him it's not romantic, it's war, it's personal, it's quiet, disciplined execution with zero need for witnesses. This is why performative ambition irritates the hell out of him. The fake hustle, the curated productivity, the endless flexing of progress without substance. He can smell it immediately. The overcompensating energy, the empty confidence, the desperation to appear like a high performer while avoiding the painful, boring, unglamorous parts that actually make someone exceptional. That's what separates the Sigma. He doesn't just do the work, he disappears into it. You won't see his process. You won't hear him talk about his grind. But when the results show up, they speak louder than any caption ever could, and it confuses people because he never advertised the journey. One day he just arrives, calm and composed, with a level of mastery or success that looks effortless. Not because it was easy, but because he didn't waste energy proving he was doing it. He just did it. The Sigma male's focus is surgical. He doesn't have time for theatrics. While everyone else is busy broadcasting their goals, networking for clout, and posting selfies with motivational quotes, he's working in silence, building something real, sustainable, and lethal. Not for approval, not for praise, for himself, because he's addicted to becoming untouchable at what he does, not to being noticed while doing it. And here's the brutal truth. You can't fake this kind of focus. You can copy the look, mimic the routine, maybe even speak the language, but the depth won't be there. Because the Sigma male's ambition isn't performative, it's coded into his bones. He doesn't want to look powerful. He wants to be unshakable. And that kind of internal drive, it's immune to applause. It thrives best in the shadows where no one's watching until it's too late. Number 8, they don't need loyalty. They test for it without warning. Loyalty to a Sigma male isn't something you promise. It's something you prove, whether you realize it or not. They don't make grand speeches about trust. They don't ask you to swear allegiance or talk about having each other's back. That's surface-level nonsense to them. Instead, they quietly test you in the shadows, watching how you move when no one's watching you, watching how your words shift when they're not in the room, watching who you become when the spotlight hits someone else. And the test isn't loud, it's never obvious. They won't set a trap or create drama. They'll just subtly leave openings to see how you respond. Will you protect their name when it's not cool to do so? Will you stay solid when it's inconvenient? Will you keep their secrets when it could benefit you to spill? You won't know you're being evaluated until it's over. Because once you fail, there's no confrontation, no emotional fallout, no angry texts, just silence, cold, clean silence. That's the part that throws people off. Most expect a chance to explain themselves, to patch things up. But Sigma males don't operate like that. They're not in the business of teaching grown people how to be loyal. They don't do second chances when it comes to betrayal, even the subtle kind. The moment they sense disloyalty, they file it away and they vanish. No closure, no drama. You're just locked out of a world you didn't even realize you were being tested to stay in. This trait can't be faked because it comes from a place of deep emotional independence. Sigma males aren't looking for validation. They're looking for people who are solid, even when it's inconvenient. And if you fail that unspoken test, they don't get mad. They just update their internal map of who you really are, and they adjust accordingly. Usually by removing themselves completely. It's why people who lose a Sigma male's trust often sit around wondering what went wrong. The answer is simple. They failed a test they never saw coming. And when it comes to loyalty, the Sigma isn't looking for fireworks. He's looking for consistency when it's uncomfortable. And that's the kind of thing you either live by or you don't. Number 9, they're hard to lead, not because they're rebels, but because they lead themselves with brutal discipline. Trying to lead a Sigma male is like trying to command the wind, futile and frustrating. It's not that he's a rebel looking to start trouble or disrupt the order. It's that he's already in command of himself. He's built his own structure, his own discipline, and he operates with an internal compass that's far more reliable than any outside force. Micromanagement. He doesn't even understand the concept. He doesn't need someone to tell him what to do because he's already decided what needs to be done and he's already 10 steps ahead, executing it with ruthless precision. You can try to steer him, give him directives or set him goals, but all that does is push him further into his own lane. He won't resist because he's trying to challenge authority. He'll resist because you're asking him to abandon the systems that work for him, and that's a waste of his time. He doesn't need someone telling him where to go or how to do it. The minute he senses any attempt at control, he'll retreat, not out of defiance, but out of self-preservation. His way works, and if you can't see that, he's not going to waste energy trying to convince you. The Sigma male's leadership comes from within. It's a quiet confidence that radiates in his actions, not his words. He doesn't need to rally people behind him because he's already a leader to himself. He knows his strengths, his weaknesses, his mission, and his boundaries. He doesn't need anyone's approval to move forward. In fact, that's probably the quickest way to lose his attention. The more you try to impose your structure on him, the more he'll withdraw, not because he dislikes you, but because he's already moved on to the next phase of his life that doesn't require you. And here's the kicker. The moment you stop trying to lead him and instead give him space to operate in his own way, you'll see something extraordinary. He'll make you realize that leadership doesn't always have to come with a title or authority. Sometimes the most effective leaders are the ones who simply show up, do their own thing, and don't need anyone else's approval to move forward. That's the quiet power of a Sigma male. He's not a follower. He's his own leader, and when you accept that, you'll find yourself following him naturally. Number 10, they study everyone, not to copy, but to calculate leverage. A Sigma male doesn't waste time coveting your life or envying your success. He doesn't get caught up in comparison games like others do. Instead, he's quietly observing, studying every move you make, every word you say, every little shift in your energy. But it's not because he wants what you have. It's because he's calculating where your weaknesses lie, where your confidence falters, and where your insecurities hide. It's a quiet form of intelligence, one that's less about admiration and more about understanding the landscape around him. You can feel it when he's watching. It's not judgment, but a deep, penetrating observation. He's not interested in what you're wearing or how loud you are at the party. He's paying attention to how you react when you're challenged, how you speak when you're nervous, or how you shift when things get uncomfortable. He wants to know how much power you really hold, and more importantly, where that power is vulnerable. What makes you tick? What would make you unravel? This isn't about malice. It's about strategy. Once the Sigma male knows your vulnerabilities, it's not a weapon for immediate use. It's simply stored information. He doesn't need to rush or act. He's patient, waiting for the right moment to use what he knows. And what's even more unsettling is that he never forgets. He knows your triggers, your weaknesses, your blind spots. And you'll never even know he's keeping track. When the time comes, when you least expect it, he'll pull out this quiet knowledge and leverage it in a way that you never saw coming. It might be in a business deal, a social interaction, or even a casual conversation, but when it happens, it'll hit with an impact that's as calculated as it is effective. But here's the thing, he's not after your downfall. He's after mastery, his own. The Sigma male doesn't use this information to bring others down. He uses it to understand the world and navigate it better, to secure his own position, to avoid risks, and to move forward with confidence. It's not manipulation. It's a game of chess, and he's thinking 5 moves ahead while everyone else is stuck in the present. And in this game, knowing where the weaknesses lie without ever having to expose them gives him a massive advantage. Number 11, they don't speak to impress. They speak to reveal pressure points. When a Sigma male speaks, it's never just to fill the air or entertain. Every word he utters is calculated, a piece of a much larger, unseen puzzle. Unlike the average person who might talk for the sake of conversation, he speaks to unveil, to test, and to understand. His words aren't random. They're deliberate probes into your psyche, designed to see how you react under subtle pressure. He's not trying to impress you with flashy language or shallow anecdotes. He's dissecting your reactions, paying attention to what makes you uncomfortable, what excites you, or what causes you to stumble. And it's not just what he says that carries weight. It's also the silence he creates, the pauses, the moments when he leaves you waiting for the next sentence. He's not awkward in these spaces. He's letting the silence do the work. You might feel the need to fill the void, to answer or offer something, and in doing so, you might reveal more about your own insecurities, ambitions, or hidden desires than you intended. It's a subtle manipulation, but not in a malicious way. It's more about using communication as a mirror. Every silence, every pause, every seemingly casual comment is a pressure test to see where you're vulnerable, where your truth lies, and where your masks begin to crack. The beauty of it is that the Sigma male doesn't need to expose himself. He knows how to play the game without revealing his own hand. The real insight comes from what you say and how you act. He listens, watches, and then calculates. He might ask a question that seems innocent, but it's really a tactical move, a way to see how you deal with discomfort, how you handle tension, and whether or not you're hiding something. He doesn't need to shout his thoughts into the void. He'll get the truth, often without you even realizing he's drawn it out of you. By the time you walk away from a conversation with a Sigma male, you might think you've just been talking to him about casual things. But when you reflect, you'll realize he knew exactly what he was doing, not to impress, but to reveal. And while you may have said more than you intended, he's probably still sitting there with that unreadable expression, knowing everything he needs to know without ever having to say much. Number 12, they never compete because they don't measure themselves on your scoreboard. While the world around them gets caught up in a frenzy of competition, trying to outshine one another with flashy wins or recognition, the Sigma male operates in a completely different realm. He's not interested in keeping up with anyone else's timeline or proving himself against someone else's standard. While others are obsessed with climbing the ladder, comparing their achievements to the next person's, the Sigma male is quietly charting his own path, one that's uniquely his. He doesn't care how fast you're running or how high you've climbed, because his measure of success isn't written on the same scoreboard. For him, progress isn't about outdoing others, it's about outdoing himself. His goal is personal mastery, quiet improvement, and finding fulfillment on his own terms. If the world suddenly stopped moving and all external benchmarks vanished, he'd still be working toward the same internal goals, setting new standards for himself that have nothing to do with what anyone else is doing. This absence of competition gives him an incredible advantage. He's free from the shackles of comparison. No matter how impressive your achievements seem, they're irrelevant to him. He doesn't need to prove anything, not because he's arrogant, but because he's already content with who he is and what he's striving toward. It's almost impossible to outdo someone who isn't even keeping score in the same game. He's not measuring his worth by your achievements. And that's why the typical measures of success, the promotions, the recognition, the applause, don't matter to him. While you're stressing over how many people are ahead of you or chasing the next shiny reward, he's focused on his own growth, making moves that align with his own values, not society's demands. This gives him a sense of peace that the competitive crowd will never know. No matter how fast they run or how high they climb, the Sigma male is already exactly where he needs to be, in a game where the only opponent is himself, and the only victory is personal evolution. In a world where everyone is vying for attention, accolades, and approval, the Sigma male remains an enigma, quietly navigating life on his own terms. He's not driven by the noise around him, nor does he play by the rules set by others. His power lies in his independence, not just in action, but in mindset. He doesn't measure his worth through the lenses of success or validation defined by the crowd. Instead, he's constantly refining himself in the shadows, aware that true strength doesn't need an audience to shine. What makes the Sigma male impossible to imitate isn't just his actions, it's his quiet, unwavering belief in his own path. His life is a testament to the fact that real mastery doesn't come from chasing approval or competing with others. It comes from knowing who you are, understanding your purpose, and refusing to let anything or anyone sway you from that. Whether in moments of chaos or silence, he is steady, composed, and focused, making his way through the world with a confidence that others can't replicate. Ultimately, the Sigma male's greatest strength isn't his ability to rise above the crowd, but his ability to remain unshaken by it. While others race to the finish line of someone else's race, he moves at his own pace, comfortable in his own skin. He's a reminder that the most powerful victories are the ones that come from within, where success isn't measured by the world's standards but by your own. And in a world obsessed with constant noise, the Sigma male's calm, purposeful existence is not just rare, it's a force that quietly reshapes everything in its wake. If you've made it this far, you've just uncovered a glimpse into the mindset of the Sigma male, a rare breed of strength, independence, and quiet mastery. If you found value in this, don't let it stop here. Hit that subscribe button, because there's so much more waiting for you. Join a community that's all about embracing individuality, defying the norm, and mastering the art of living life on your terms. If you think someone needs to hear this, whether it's someone who's lost in the noise or someone trying to understand this powerful mindset, share this with them. And don't forget to like and drop a comment. I want to hear your thoughts, your experiences, or anything you'd like to add to the conversation. This isn't just a video, it's the start of something much bigger. Let's keep pushing the boundaries together.